Alright everybody, how we doing today? So, proceeding forward from Reuters. So, this article is entitled, India Needs Time to Restore Order in Kashmir, Top Court Judge. New Delhi, Islamabad. Indian authorities need more time to restore order in Kashmir, a Supreme Court justice said on Tuesday as a security clampdown entered the ninth day since New Delhi revoked the region's special status, triggering protests. Manana, 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 manana. For those of you who are Led Zeppelin fans, you know what I just did. But it's such a generic riff, I seriously doubt I'll get into any trouble. The court is hearing an activist petition seeking to lift curbs on communications and movement that have disrupted normal life and essential services in the Himalayan region. Telephone lines, internet, and television networks have been blocked since August 5th, when India withdrew Jammu and Kashmir state's right to frame its own laws and allowed non-residents to buy property there. Restrictions on movement and assembly included a ban on gatherings of more than 4 people were tightly enforced on Tuesday in the region's main city, Srinagar. Menaka Guruswamy, a lawyer for the petitioner, said the court should move to restore hospital service and open schools. That is all I ask, she told the Supreme Court in New Delhi. Justice Arun Mishra said the government wanted to bring Kashmir back to normal as soon as possible. So, it seems to me like the Indian government is engaging in some very sort of potentially dangerous interventionism, wanting to prevent major cities from framing their own laws. Now, why would that be? Are they trying to do something that maybe their people wouldn't want their government to do? Well, let's keep reading. The situation is such that nobody knows what is going on. We should give them time to restore normalcy. Nobody can take 1% of chance, Mishra said, who will be responsible if something really bad happens tomorrow. The petition also seeks to release of detained political leaders in Kashmir among more than 300 people held to prevent widespread protests. The court is expected to rule on the petition in a few days. Prime Minister Narendra Modi's move on Kashmir threw a tighter grasp on the country's only Muslim-majority region, and drew strong protests from neighboring Pakistan, which also lays claim to the region. Indian officials say the situation is normalizing and announced plans for a 3-day investor summit in Kashmir beginning October 12th to kickstart economic growth. Navin Kumar Gaudry, Jammu and Kashmir's principal secretary of Industry and Commerce, said the government would try to drum up investment in tourism, horticulture, and film production in Kashmir, famous for its alpine scenery and fertile soil. So let me get this straight. You locked up political leaders to prevent widespread protest. You're preventing them from framing their own laws, and it's also causing problems with Pakistan. Yeah, no, you guys are fine. You're not doing anything that people would object to. Not at all. The way I see it, in most cases, anytime the people in general start to object to something the government's doing, it's probably negative. Now, mind you, that does not necessarily compare to the situation in the United States, where people and activists protest against the so-called concentration camps, according to one AOC. That's a different situation in the sense that India is trying to keep things under tight control, whereas all our government's trying to do is deport illegals. What we're talking about is comparing apples to oranges, so before anyone tries to call me a hypocrite for complaining about one but not the other. Protests often result, but not always, from a genuine distrust in a situation by the government, and they're trying to do something. Know the difference between a legitimate protester and a radical. Anyway, Modi's government said the old laws prohibiting people from outside Kashmir from buying property, settling there and taking up government jobs had hindered its development. Restrictions were lifted in 5 districts of Jammu on Monday and relaxed in 9 Kashmir districts. The Home Ministry said it said there would be heightened security for Pakistan's Independence Day on Wednesday, followed by India's the next day, and then Muslim Friday prayers. On Monday, authorities sealed off parts of Srinagar, where hundreds of people shouting anti-India slogans spilled into the streets following prayers on the Muslim festival of Eid al-Adha. Rahul Gandhi, a leader of India's opposition Congress party, said on Tuesday he and his colleagues want to visit the state, responding to media reports of an invitation from authorities overseeing Kashmir. Gandhi tweeted, "But please ensure us the freedom to travel and meet the people, mainstream leaders and our soldiers stationed over there." Well, his last name is Gandhi, so I figured, yeah. You guys can complain about that in the comment section if you want. I won't defend myself. I'm just having a little bit of harmless fun. But really, though, this is kind of what happens when you have 2 groups living together that don't have shared values. See, the more things we have in common, the more likely we are to get along. The less we have in common, the greater is the separation, the more likely there is going to be a conflict. Especially if one holds values that the other thinks are wrong. Then there's definitely going to be some sort of conflict. Let's continue. Tweets blocked. India has raised concern about some Twitter posts on the situation in Kashmir, where militants have been fighting Indian rule for nearly 3 decades. Police in Kashmir said they asked Twitter to act against a malicious post from one user. Indian media reported on Monday that the government had asked the company to suspend 8 accounts accused of spreading false information about Kashmir. A police officer told NDTV news network that some of the accounts were run by Pakistan's spy agency Inter-Services Intelligence, or ISI. A spokesman for the publicity wing of Pakistan's military intelligence services said it had no involvement in the accounts. A Twitter spokesperson said the company does not comment on individual accounts for privacy and security reasons. So to finish this off, Maria Shakil Khan, who operates one of the 8 Twitter accounts, said she was not formally contacted by Twitter. One of her tweets about fighting for Kashmir's freedom was blocked in India. Khan, whose account at Red for Kashmir has about 700 followers, lives in Islamabad, but hails from Pakistan-administered Kashmir. "I am tweeting in solidarity with Kashmiris," Khan, 28, told Reuters by telephone, adding that she had no ties to Pakistan's ISI. "Kashmir is being totally censored. They only want the Indian narrative. Every month they suspend me." India's Federal Home Ministry did not respond to requests for comment. God, what is going on? Why is the Indian government doing this? This seems extremely... not only is this censorious, it's almost like they're trying to get away with something. Like they're trying to get away with murder. Between actively trying to prevent riots, censoring people on social media, and various other methodologies, it's almost like they're trying to silence any opposition. That is straight up tyrannical. They don't want there to be backlash against their rule over Kashmir or any other areas. I suspect what they're ultimately doing is they're trying to oppress anyone who would ultimately try and in any way rebel against or at least speak poorly of the Indian government. Sounds a little familiar. Maybe they've been picking up some tricks from the British, if you know what I mean. But yeah, and as for the earlier thing, as I said before, it may seem hypocritical of me to say that it's okay for you to riot if your government's doing something wrong, or to riot or protest, yet at the same time be against people who are rioting or otherwise complaining about our government putting up deportation centers that they like to call concentration camps. The difference is this. Indian government is clearly being highly tyrannical and forcing people to conform to their leadership and their ideas. The U.S. is simply trying to deport illegals. There's a fine line between a legitimate protest and radical terrorism disguised as activism. Plus, not to mention the fact that you also have to learn how to tell the difference between a government doing something bad and a government doing something good. Deporting illegals who broke the law in order to get here, that's probably good. But clearly India, being a tyrannical asshat of a state, is clearly not. So for those of you who would be confused by that, there you go. Anyway,